Hello everyone, happy to get together again and to learn something. Let our learning be for the rescue of these 3 boys that hopefully we should see them back home in peace. So we'll learn something about this week's Parsha. In this week's Parsha we're learning about the major player in this Parsha is a fellow named Korach. As we all know the story, that he had disputes and debates with our great leader Moshe Rabbeinu, and as we know the whole story and the end of that story. But you're just going to point out one dispute that he had. And one of these disputes and disagreements that he had with Moshe Rabbeinu was this question about a room, a library, as we call it in our language, full of holy books, from ceiling to floor. When his question was, a holy room like this, with all full of books, do we still need to have a mezuzah in order to guard this room? We know the idea of a mezuzah is to guard a room, as the mezuzah it's written on it, Shomer Latot Israel, God watches the doors of the houses of Israel. But he asked him, if the room is so holy, so many holy books, do we still need a mezuzah at the door? And Moshe Rabbeinu answered, yes, the law is that even though the room he has full of holy books, still we need a mezuzah and that room. And as the story goes, that they were laughing and they said, what one little parchment of mezuzah can do? Doesn't make sense. If there's so much holiness in that room from all these Torah books, do we still need a little mezuzah in order to make that room holy? So as we know, this was one of the famous debates that he had. From everything is there to learn a lesson. What is the lesson we can learn from this deep conversation? That as we know that Korach was not some little fellow. He was a great, knowledgeable fellow. What was the debate about? What were they talking about? When the idea was that Korach was saying, I don't understand. If there's so much holy books in the room, if it's so much holiness there, do we still need a little parchment to knock with 2 nails on the wall, on the doorpost? This is important. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, that action of putting the mezuzah is important. And that was something that Korah didn't understand. What does it mean to our daily life? Korach is saying, if you have so much Torah, so much Kedusha of learning Torah in this room, of so many books, do we need the little action of putting a mezuzah? What is the little action going to replace so much Kedusha? Moshe Rabbeinu sends back to him a big message for us. With the message he tells him, the room can be full of Torah. But if there is no action, if there is no mitzvah of putting the mezuzah on the door, he did not yet do the mitzvah. All the Torah in there, but one mitzvah, 2 nails knocking in a mezuzah. That's what the mitzvah is. With all the Torah, we do not have this mitzvah. And that's a very strong lesson to us. It's beautiful to have all the Kedusha of Torah. But bottom line, what Moshe Rabbeinu says, it's got to be brought down into a fact, into a mitzvah, into an action. And only when you have the action of the mitzvah, that's when the Torah comes down in the mitzvah of Hashem. This is what God wants us to do. When you have all the great learning, but you're missing out the actual doing something, a little help to another Jew, a little bringing good into the world, the great level of Torah is great, but we need action, Moshe Rabbeinu says. Korach disagreed, but we self-understood follow Moshe Rabbeinu. And this brings us to a very known story. I heard it from a great rabbi here in Montreal, Rabbi Reuben, many, many years ago. And he said a story that was at the time of the great Maggid of Mezrich. And in that time of the great Maggid of Mezrich, with all these great students he had with him, it came to visit him a great fellow, but from the other camp. And his name was Rabbi Kosil Amberger, a great student of the Gaon of Vilna. And there's a long story why and how, but he came to visit into the place of the Maggid Mezrich. So he told me the story when he came into the room of the Maggid of Mezrich. He wanted to speak to him some Torah. So the Maggid asked him if it's possible if he can go into the Bis Midrash, into the school that he has, and there he should speak to one of the students there in Torah. When the story goes that he came into the Bis Midrash and he met one student there, our famous Reb Zusha, one of the students and disciples of the Maggid. And he sat down next to him. So Reb Zusha tells him, "Oh, they know about you, you're a great rabbi. Can I ask you a question?" And he said, it says in the Gemara, if there's 9 people, or there's missing a tent for the minyan. So the Gemara is saying, could we take a Sefer Torah out? The Sefer Torah, the Torah should be the tent for the minyan. So the Gemara says, Torah Gavru, is Torah a person? It can't be the tent, even though it's Torah. So Rabbi Zusha turns to the great rabbi and he tells him, Rabbi, Torah itself should not count for a minyan. What does it mean? We're missing a tent. Everything comes from Torah. Why can't we take the Sefer Torah to be the tent for the minyan? Rabbi, please answer me. The rabbi didn't answer. He said, you have an answer for me? He says, yes, my answer will be as follows. What the Talmud teaches us, that in order to have a minyan is to bring God into the world. As we know, when there's a minyan of Jews, 10 Jews, God comes to the world. It comes to be in this dwelling place. So the Talmud teaches us, if you have 9 people, you're missing a 10th person to be a minyan. Could you use the Torah? The Gemara says no. Torah Gavro, is Torah a person? Meaning to say what the Talmud is teaching us. You can have the Sefer Torah itself. You're not going to bring down God with a Sefer Torah. You need 10 Jews, that they are here. And what is the point of the 10 people? That they make the minyan, they make a dwelling place for God. This is how we can have a minyan. And that's the message he gave to the great rabbi. Rabbi, you great level of Torah, but we have to make a dwelling place for God in this world. And that's the same message. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu gives to Korach. He can have a house full of Torah books, but if you don't have the mezuzah, you don't have the action of the mitzvah, it's not going to happen. And that's the great message we have to learn from this parsha. To look around, to do one more little action. And as the Rebbe tells us, we're going to bring Mashiach with one more little action of goodness and kindness. Have yourself all a good Shabbos.